Again, I'd like to echo Tommy's comments, Congressman, for sponsoring this morning. I know we're going to talk about plant labs, and I know we kind of also mentioned pharmaceuticals and synthetics, and I'll kind of take it in 3 portions here, because again, they all seem to be at the forefront right now. As far as Clan Lab, the Clan Lab issue, the way DEA has always approached that is that we enlisted our state and local counterparts to help us. Probably about 10, 15 years ago, DEA agents and task force officers would respond out to these individual labs and clean them up. It wasn't too long that we figured that we did not have the manpower to respond to the number of Clan labs that were across the United States. We started training our state and local counterparts to start cleaning up the labs, and they have since basically taken over the responsibility of cleaning up the labs. What DEA has done in the past was basically administer COPS funding to fund the state and locals departments when they went out and cleaned up these labs. Unfortunately, last year on February 22nd, a date that is ingrained in my mind forever, because that's when COPS funding was depleted, and I got all kinds of calls that week. I mean, it was a lousy week to be a DEA agent. And it wasn't DEA's money. DEA just got the money through COPS funding. We just administered it. About 2 months later, a couple of million more dollars came available. That money was used to fund cleanups, but it was only used to fund states that had container programs. They did not have the money to fund all individual Clan labs like they had in the past. Tennessee, with the help of Tommy Farmer and the Meth Task Force, did an outstanding job when it came to meth lab cleanups. Tennessee did not have a container program, but within 4 months they established a very good container program. And those of us that work for the government, I think for anything to happen in a 4-month period of time is phenomenal, and it did. And between TBI, the Meth Task Force, DEA, our headquarters, we were able to put that in place. This year, DEA was able to get $12.5 million for meth lab cleanups. None of that money has really been obligated, with the exception of the states that have a container program. And I think right now there are 7 states that in the United States: Tennessee, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, Alabama, Oklahoma, and I'm thinking I'm leaving one out, maybe Kentucky, that have container programs. And that's what was getting funded at the beginning of the year. As of today, DEA is going to fund all Clan lab cleanups for the rest of the fiscal year. But there's a caveat to that. DEA has targeted those states that have the most Clan labs to go to container program. And right now they're talking with 14 other states, basically the rest of the states in the southeast and a few other states in the Midwest, to go over to container program. Most of these states have already started moving over to container program to clean up labs. DEA will fund, for those 14 states, will fund, as long as money is there, their individual lab cleanups. And the caveat is that beginning fiscal year 2013, we're hoping to get another $12.5 million for Clan lab cleanups. But those 14 states have to go to container program in the beginning of fiscal year 2013 if they receive any additional money. So hopefully, beginning of 2013, we'll have 21 states. Those are the major states for Clan labs that have a container program. And for those of you that don't understand the container program, basically what had happened in the past, if there was a Clan lab that was discovered, the state and local would go out to the Clan lab. They would then call DEA. DEA would then call our headquarters and would give what we call a cleanup number. And then they would then call the state and local, the Clan lab, who would then call an environmental company that could come out and clean up the lab. So at that point, every lab in the country was getting an individual response. Now what we've done with the container program is in Tennessee, we've established 12 containers throughout the state. And we've had to train the state and locals not only to go out and break down the lab, but now to neutralize the chemicals. They will then call one of the Clan lab trucks that are part of the methamphetamine task force to come out, They will take the neutralized chemicals and transport them to one of these 12 container sites. And then once every week, every 2 weeks, a contractor will come out and pick up the chemicals from that. So you can have anywhere from maybe a couple dozen individual labs in that container. So now, as opposed to paying a contractor going out to 12 or 24 different labs, you're paying them just one time to go out to that container to pick up those chemicals. So with the federal government, you know, money's tight. So as a federal agency, we have to figure out a way to conserve money. So that's the way we're doing it right now with the container program, is getting these states that have most of the labs to go to a container program so we can be a little more fiscally conservative to save money. So with that, we're trying to stay ahead of the ballgame. With pharmaceuticals, again, that right now, not only in Tennessee, but in the country, is the #1 drug threat for the country. It's something we're trying to play catch up with. DEA, again, it is trying to be very aggressive. Within the last couple years, the major offices and now some of the smaller offices are going to what we call a Tactical Diversion Squad, a TDS. We're just standing one up right now in Nashville. The purpose of the TDS is an enforcement group that focuses only on pharmaceutical issues. They're focusing on pain clinics, they're focusing on rogue doctors, they're focusing on these pill organizations that in the past have gone down to Florida, bought a bunch of pills and then brought them back up to Tennessee or wherever for redistribution. So these TDSs are getting stood up all across the country. Again, there is some state legislation that should help Tennessee if the legislation gets passed. It has to do with doctors and pharmacies using prescription monitoring database. In Tennessee, there is prescription monitoring database. The downside is it's not required for doctors or pharmacies to check this database before they prescribe or issue pills. The legislation we have right now will mandate that doctors and pharmacies now have to check the P&P, and will also be real time. The other upside to this legislation is that it will allow Tennessee to share their P&P information with surrounding states. If we don't have that, that's a huge problem because, as we know, Tennessee is surrounded by 8 states. So these people who are shopping for pills, if those prescription monitoring databases are not connected to each other, they can jump from state to state to state and get a prescription, you know, and never go over that 30-day period that make it flag the prescription monitoring database for each individual state. If they're connected together, you'll be able to track if somebody's jumping from state to state to state, filling prescriptions or trying to get prescription. On the synthetics, again, this is something that it's brand new. I think back in 2010, we very rarely saw anything to do with synthetic drugs. DEA has again been very aggressive in trying to deal with the situation, but unfortunately, it's one that evolves so quick, it's very hard to do. There were 5 synthetic cannabinoids that were emergency scheduled back in March of last year, and it appeared they were emergency scheduled as Class 1 or Schedule 1 controlled substance. It appears those will eventually be scheduled controlled 1 substances here in the next 6 months. But again, all these manufacturers do change the molecular structure by one chemical, and you have the same thing. So we're playing catch up. The synthetic cathinones, the bath salts, the plant foods, and everything. We emergency scheduled 4 of those back in October of last year. So that process is still under review. The problem we're seeing right now with these synthetics is initially a lot of the synthetics were for not human consumption. We are now starting to see a shift from not for human consumption for human consumption. We're starting to see stuff they're marketing as lollipops, pills, bubble gum. I mean, and when you start talking lollipop and you start talking bubble gum, I think we all understand the target age that these people are targeting. It's no longer, you know, adults. You're targeting teenagers, you know. So it's something that we need to get our hands around. We're trying hard to do it. We've got to stay on top of it. And as an agency, we will. But hopefully we'll see some legislation. I know Congress passed some legislation, in December. Unfortunately, it didn't get through the Senate yet, and hopefully it will, because that is going to schedule, I think it's like 200 different synthetics on there that would definitely be a huge, huge help for law enforcement. Other than that, that's when we get done. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take any questions. And again, Congressman, thank you so much.